video, we're going to talk about the mouse area. This is extremely cool and allows for some really interesting user interactions. It's much more complex than the tap handler, and you can take a simple object such as a rectangle and make it very interactable. Let's take a look at this. All right, so let's kill that. First off, mouse area versus tap handler. Why do we need two of these? We've already kind of covered the tap handler. Well, if you read the documentation, the tap handler really just handles taps on a touch screen or clicks on a mouse. It's really just simple gesture detection. It's not meant to be a heavyweight here, meaning did they touch the screen? If so, what did they do? Where the mouse area is much more advanced. You can do drag and drop and all sorts of really cool stuff, and it has a lot of signals to play with. For example, on clicked, double clicked, entered, exited, position changed, and so on and so on. So let's dive in here. Now, before we do, the mouse area, like the tap handler, is an invisible item. So we have to have some sort of parent to interact with. And there's a lot of little gotchas about the mouse area that'll be initially frustrating until you really wrap your head around it. So we're just going to make a rectangle, and let's call this ID my area. Set the color blue because I like blue. Width, why not? Let's make it 200, height 200, and let's go ahead and drop an anchor, center in the parent. Nothing super special about this. It's just going to be a blue rectangle. Now let's get the user interaction. Let's go ahead and add in a mouse area. Notice I'm adding this in as a child of the rectangle. Let's say my mouse. Why am I adding this in as a child of the rectangle? Simple. If I decide I don't want this rectangle and I just delete it, I'm also deleting the mouse area that's going to interact with it. I could very easily have this mouse area exist outside of the rectangle, but then I just have this orphaned object sitting out here doing nothing. For example, if I did something like this and then deleted that rectangle, why does this mouse area even exist anymore? So when in doubt, I typically like to embed them as children so it's nice and contained. All right, enough lecture. Got our mouse area here. Let's play with some signals. So I want to say on clicked. Console log, I want to know that the user clicked. And if we look at, jump back to the documentation here, clicked, you notice there is a mouse property here, or I should say a parameter. The mouse parameter provides information about the click, including the XY position, the button, and so on. Interesting. So that really talks about, hey, you can now get details of what happened here. That's extremely cool. Let's look at that, and we're going to say mouse.button. And then I want some basic interaction. So I'm going to say if mouse.button triple equals, if you do double, like what you're used to in C++ land, QML is going to get a little mad at you. Oops, don't want left arrow, I want left button. There we go. So if we're going to left click, we're going to say parent.color equals, and let's say green. And through the magic of copy and paste, we can grab this guy. Grab the right button. And let's make this red. This is one of the little gotchas that's just going to infuriate you when you start working with the mouse area. Actually, we'll do two of them at once. First one is, if we run this, nothing happens. Why? Because that mouse area, we haven't defined a width or height or an anchor, so it is right here, and it is 0 by 0. So you can't even click it. Very frustrating. So let's go ahead and drop an anchor in here. Solved one problem. Now we can left click, but when we right click, nothing happens. Let's look at our app output. You see clicked 1, so only button 1 is being registered, and I'm clicking very loud, hoping the microphone can hear that. Right click is not working. No worky. What's up with that? It said it can do the buttons. It's going to track them. What's going on here is we have to tell the mouse area what it's going to accept. Frustrating. All right, so we're going to say accept buttons. Here we go. And then we're just going to, through the magic of copy and paste, say it'll accept left or it will accept right. That's actually by design because, well, user interaction, specifically the mouse, can get very chatty, and you want to be able to filter some things out here. Some mice, some gaming mice, the one I have on my desk has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buttons on it. That gets crazy. All right, so now we can left click and we can right click. Sweet. So let's play around with double clicking, entering, exiting, and monitoring a position change. So on double click, and let's do it this way. And we also want that mouse. Pull up our app output and left click, double clicked with the right button. So you can see it is working, and it's actually extremely cool. Now we want to do interactions as far as entering and exiting, and we want to monitor the position of the mouse. So let's, whoops, way too big on that. Let's get rid of that. And we want to monitor the position changed. And we're going to say all right, here is the final little gotcha here. Position changed, we run this, open the app output, and let's mouse over, and nothing happens. Did we break it? Nope, we can still click and double click, but it's not actually giving us feedback. Another frustrating little bit, you actually have to turn hovering on. So we're going to say hover enabled, true, save and run. Let's show our output, and suddenly, boom. This is what I mean by it can get very chatty. It's just filling up our app output log here. So that is extremely cool. Gives us some really, really sharp precision. Let's go ahead and monitor the entered and exited. And we're going to say parent.color. And on exited, parent.color. I want to set this back to blue. That way it just looks normal. Very cool. We can do all sorts of things, and we get some really, really sharp details, and it just works once you get over the little caveats here. Some of the more frustrating bits to be aware of, and let's just recap here, is you have to accept buttons if you want anything more than the left button. Hover enabled has to be true if you want to monitor position, entered, or exited. Double click and click work by default, but again, it's going to backbone on your accepted buttons. And of course, you have to have this fill some type of area. You can either drop an anchor or you can do a width and a height.